After 10 years and 2 kids, my husband and I finally had the chance to travel, just the two of us. And because Batanes has been one of the places I badly wanted to visit, we decided to book a 4-day trip to this majestic island. From Clark, it took us an hour and a half by plane to get there. We took off with the nice and sunny weather. But when we landed in Basco, it was rainy and windy. We checked in at Tawsen's place, which I highly recommend to tourists who want to visit Batanes. The hotel is nice and clean, and their staff is friendly and hospitable. Our tour guide arrived and we started our tour at 1 p.m. even though it was raining. Our first stop was the Mount Carmel Chapel. Unfortunately, it was struck by a strong typhoon before we visited, and it is currently under reconstruction. I can imagine how strong the typhoon was. This is the Pagasa weather station. It was also struck by the typhoon and its structure was ruined. We stopped by the Cafe Tutukon where we had our afternoon merienda. Their calamansi pie and chocolate are to die for. We visited Fundación Pasita, the only luxurious hotel in Batanes because of its picturesque and panoramic views. And by the way, the wind was still strong, but our tour guide said it was just normal to them. This is the Itbud Ijang. This served as a fortress for the ancient Ivatans against invaders. Even before our trip, I was already excited to see the Valugan Boulder Beach. I actually don't know why. Maybe because I got curious on how big the boulders are, and I have always loved looking and listening to waves hitting the shore or boulders. Yes, it was still raining, but there were still tourists who managed to have their photos taken on this beautiful beach, and that included us. We visited the oldest church in Batanes, which is the Santo Domingo Cathedral. It was said to be established in the 17th century. Even though it was raining nonstop, my husband still braved to climb the Vayang rolling hills. And as for me, I opted to stay in the van and waited for them, hoping that I can get to go back to see the place when it's not raining. Our last stop for the day was the Basco Lighthouse at the Naidi Hills. The weather was still miserable, but the view was breathtaking, overlooking the West Philippine Sea and the Basco town proper. On our second day in Batanes, the weather got a little bit better, but still with scattered rains. Our first stop for the day, the Chawa View Deck. It is said to be used by the fishermen, hence the stairway. That's the Mahatao Shelter Port where Ivatans dock their boats during strong typhoons to keep them safe. That's the Tayid Lighthouse. Unlike the Basco Lighthouse, which is round, this is hexagonal in shape and is facing the Pacific Ocean. was the Alapad rock formations where you can see the famous blow your horn sign. Of course, we didn't miss the opportunity to have our photo taken there. We visited the most famous coffee and souvenir shop in the whole of Batanes, the Honesty Coffee Shop. This is where we bought some souvenirs to take home. Next is my personal favorite, the Raku Apayaman, also known as the Marlborough Country. When you search for Batanes in Google, this is what you will see. The weather was still gloomy when we got there, but it was still breathtaking, stunning, and mesmerizing. But then, it rained again. I said to myself I will go back here when it's not raining, whatever it may take. This is the House of Takay, the oldest stone house in Batanes. It was said to be constructed in 1887 and it has been acknowledged as a UNESCO Heritage Building. We passed by the Homaron Blue Lagoon, but we just stayed in the van because of the rain. When we passed by the Maydangeb White Beach, we couldn't help but to get off of the car despite the rain because of its nice and white sand. The beach was just beautiful. After our sumptuous lunch at Valvanes, we walked our way to one of the oldest churches in Mahatao, Batanes, the San Carlos Borromeo Church. Our guide said the church is always open 24/7. We also got to see the century-old Arius tree right behind the church. San Carlos Borromeo Church has its own library-like room with a lot of blank books, the Batanes Blank Book Archive. Of course, we didn't pass the chance to write our thoughts and dedications in one of their blank books. Whatever we wrote there will be part of the library's history. On our third day, we planned to go to Sabtang, but we were informed at the hotel that even though it stopped raining, the sea was still rough. So we just decided to make our own itinerary. The sun finally showed up, so we asked our tour guide to take us back to the places we wanted to see again, this time on a traditional Ivatan trike. By the way, this is Dwight, the best tour guide ever. If you're planning to visit Batanes, we highly recommend him. I will write his contact details on the description box below. And so, we went back to Valugan Boulder Beach and Vayang Rolling Hills. We didn't miss out on dining at the famous Funong Dinette. They serve only authentic, traditional Ivatan food. We were able to have a chit-chat with the owner, Ma'am Jessica, and we learned that everything they serve is organic. This is the beef soup and the food. So we have turmeric rice, we have uvet, fish, beef, and lunyes, all wrapped in breadfruit leaf. And finally, of course, we went back to my favorite, Marlborough Country. The weather was not the ideal during our 4-day stay in Batanes. We didn't even get the chance to visit Sabtang. But this trip is the best trip ever because we realized that we still can enjoy and be happy despite the not so good situation. We saw the good and positive in bad and negative. What sets us apart from the rest is we had the best time sightseeing, exploring, and picture taking under the rain. And money can't even buy that experience. Batanes will always be in our hearts, especially the Ivatans who we met and made us feel warm and welcome. We will never forget this experience. We will be back Batanes, but next time with our kids. Thank you for the memories.